Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I recently saw Hazel Appleyard post this story on Twitter. The story comes from the wonderful place of Reddit. Yes, where all of the logic, reason, rationale seems to go on. And some of the funny stories that I've been able to share with you all happen to come from the likes of Reddit. Seems to be like this rather interesting place, doesn't it? Where a lot of people seem to think that it's a good idea to post a lot of these stories and ask people on Reddit for advice, but they're just as delusional as the person that's asking for the advice. So it's the delusion, it's the blind leading the blind, essentially, but it's the Delulu leading the Delulu into more Delulu land. It's just funny. It really is. So this story, I thought was just, it made me laugh so much. So Hazel Appleyard goes, ha, bro thought his wife going to give him a makeover and she just told him to move out. So what happens when you decide to come out to your wife as being transgender? What do you think is going to happen in that regard? So the woman married a man, but the man no longer wants to be a man. The man wants to identify as being a woman. So now I guess the man thinks that he's a lesbian because he's married to a woman somehow. It's rather odd and rather confusing, isn't it? But for some reason, the man goes, I don't like being a man anymore. I'm going to be a woman. And my wife she has to give me sympathy because I married her. And I don't identify as being a husband anymore. I identify as being a wife. And she's just going to have to get used to it. She's going to call me a wife. Her wife. Oh, boy. Anyway, but it didn't go quite as this person thought that it would. It actually got worse. Came out to wife last night. Could not have gone worse. Now, when you see a title like this, what's your immediate thought? Like, what's the worst possible thing that you can think of that the wife can do in this kind of scenario? So if you're, as the LGBT community thinks, it's a huge deal for them to come out of the closet, right? Which I think is absolutely hilarious analogy to use because really the only place you ever came out is your mother's, you know what? But people love to say, oh, if I'm coming out of the closet, maybe someone can explain this to me. Like, why do they use that sort of analogy? I get the whole idea of it. You know, you're locked away in your own little world. Nobody else knows about you. I get that whole idea, but why say that? Like you're coming out of the closet. Like it's just the worst possible analogy to use. But anyway, people use it and whatever. Go ahead and use it. Says it all. 44. So AMAB means, or for these people on Reddit, they use all these like little acronyms, but essentially, it just means they want to say, I was assigned male at birth. But we know that you're not assigned anything at birth. You're observed the sex that you are. You're not assigned. The doctor doesn't go, oh, that person, that female's got a penis, so I'm going to assign that female male. How does that even work? Like the doctor has got to know, all right, I see what the ultrasound has said. I'm looking at genitalia. I'm looking at what I've got here. I know the chromosomes. I know what biology says. So therefore, I'm going to observe the very fact that this is a man at birth. Sex is assigned at conception, not at birth. That's just weird. Imagine that. Like you're not given any sex at all up until the moment the doctor decides what to give you. How ludicrous is that? There's only male and female, damn it. But anyway, egg cracked Tuesday after 4 days of constant panic, tears, and trying desperately to hold it all together. These people seem to be rather delusionally emotional. Goodness knows why. I told my very progressive wife how I was feeling and that I was going to seek therapy for my dysmorphia. Sympathy? Nope. Compassion? Nope. Nah, an offer of Sephora coupons for a new makeover, buddy. Ha! When will you be moving out? What a question to ask the person you married. I mean, it sounds like this marriage is really going swimmingly, or maybe they've had some issues in the past and now it's just all coming to the forefront when this dude decides, you know what? My wife is going to have to accept me for who I am because she claims to be rather progressive. But I think she has drawn the line with the lunacy of this guy deciding that it's okay to be a woman. She didn't marry a woman, she married a man. 16 years of marriage, two wonderful kids, a life built together, and I lost it in 5 minutes. Well, mate, one really poor decision like believing in a delusional lie and reality will probably do that to you. I don't think your wife wants to have to put up with your delulu inside of the marriage, inside of the, you know, like there's such a thing as trans widows. And that's because men have decided, you know what, I'm going to live out my fantasy and forget the woman that I actually married. So they're now widowed effectively because they've lost the man that they did marry because the man has gone over to the so-called other side and choosing to identify and they're living in a complete state of delusion. Apparently, I'm not feminine enough to be a woman. I love to see a photo of this particular person. Love to see it. If the person's got a beard, got very masculine features, then mate, come on. But if your wife is saying you're not feminine enough, I think you've got to listen to her because she is a woman. Maybe, just maybe listen. Might be a good idea. Hey, hear me out. Hear me out a little bit. B, I would be too embarrassing. Yeah. Imagine you're the woman and all your friends who are so-called progressive have to deal with the fact that the man that you decided to marry is no longer choosing to be a man, but has chosen to identify as being a woman. Can you imagine the problems that would make for the actual wife? Like she doesn't actually accept it, but yet she's forced to go along with it. I don't think you should be forced to go along with any of this madness at all. But the man wants to be forced or force his wife into going along with it. Believe it or not. C, trans people are fine when they're other people. Mate, there's a difference between, you know, you not being married and living your own life in your own delusional reality versus you actually being married to a woman for 16 years. You got two kids, and then all of a sudden you decide, hey, I'm sick of this. I'm going to identify as being a woman. So you're 44 years old. You've been married for 16 years. You finally decided to tell your wife something that you were nervous, panic, and why were you nervous and panicky? Like, did you know for a fact how she was going to react? Oh, no, she's very progressive. So because she's very progressive, she must be tolerant to this trans madness. Look, there are people that I know that are rather progressive, extremely progressive, but they do not stand for this trans madness. There's like a fine line that you don't cross, especially when it comes to women. Look, a lot of women seemingly nowadays seem to be rather progressive too, and they just draw the line at the, no, I'm not going to go over to this men taking over female spaces or men that were once choosing to be men are now identifying as being women for the sake of gratification and whatever else. You know, it's lunacy, complete and utter lunacy. So what did you think was going to happen? Like you thought, obviously you've got panic for a reason. Like here you are thinking that you're going to get sympathy and, you know, go and do things that your wife does. Like, but in reality, you get told to move out. Now, I think there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye, obviously, but still, That's a pretty big deal when the wife goes, "When are you moving out?" After you've told her, "Hey, I'm finally coming out of the closet now." I would have been like, "What closet? Where? What? What are you talking about?" But yeah, when are you moving out? That's a great question to ask because it may actually wake this particular person up. Sometimes you have to get to rock bottom and hit that bottom really, really hard before you start to wake up and realize and smell the roses, as they say, and smell and see things for how they really are and what you really have and what you're missing out on. So let's hope this guy actually wakes up and realizes that he's not, in fact, the woman, and this person never will be a woman. Choosing to identify as being a woman doesn't make you a woman. Science and biology tells us otherwise. So does reason, rationale. And that creates a healthy society. It really does. And healthy marriages too. Not a marriage that goes, "When are you moving out?" because they've chosen to identify as being something that they're not. Hey, far be it from me to say otherwise. But you guys take care. You be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.